All right, fastest 15 minutes in social media, fastest 15 minutes on the internet. My name is Judson Powell. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification buttons, hit all the buttons for me, and I would appreciate it, and I love you. Thank you. I hit the love button for you. Anyway, let me see. Okay, Charlemagne the God and Joe Biden. Oh, Uncle Joe, he's moving kind of slow at the junction. All right. So I guess I'm going to kind of pick it up from where I was. I also want to mention in this, I want to mention Karl Malone as well. Former NBA basketball player Karl Malone. I think he's like the second all-time leading scorer, actually, behind Kareem. I have to check that, but I think he's an all-time leading scorer, number 2 behind Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And Karl always played. He played for Utah. Then he went to to the Lakers, and my Pistons beat y'all. But anyway, so anyway, it's like a couple of things that are like mixed together there because basically Biden said one thing that caught everybody's attention, and that was that if you don't vote for him, then you ain't really black. So, and so then of course all of the troll people that I was talking about yesterday, they went crazy because they thought he overstepped his bounds and that he really shouldn't say stuff like that. Which it's campaigning and whatever. So it is what it is. But so I was trying to figure out all morning, did I agree with his statement or not? And then I thought about it. I said, yeah, I kind of actually got to agree with him. Only because of the fact that Trump is, like I said, Trump is a white nationalist and a white supremacist. So he doesn't believe, I don't think, I believe that Biden would probably be like a Lincoln type dude. I don't hate black people, but if I had to have one in the superior or one in the subordinate position, I would choose white folks to be in the superior position. So that's kind of where I feel on that, what I feel about that. Now, the other thing that I do feel strongly about is that we have a two-party system. Right now, we don't have a multiple-party system. Right now, we have a two-party system. And under this two-party system, the way things are stacking up and adding up right now, basically, it's a two-candidate race. It's either Trump or Biden. And I know y'all got all kinds of, different arguments about why we shouldn't vote for neither one. But the bottom line is you're going to be subjected to whichever one wins. You're going, just like when we didn't vote for Hillary and all the statistics and everything like that prove out that and this is the funny part, especially black men. Black men did not vote for Hillary. In fact, most black men did not vote at all. So we know that we are important in the election. Black men. We understand that we're important in the election. If we don't vote, then 9 times out of 10, it's going to be Trump. The only difference with this election is that Trump has pissed so many people off that you now have groups like Republicans for Trump. You have people who will vote for anybody other than Trump. In fact, on my way riding over here, I saw a bumper sticker that said what? That said, any sane human being for President 2020. So Trump got a lot of people mad at him. Don't get the game twisted. He has a lot of people mad at him, and he's got a lot of loose baggage and stuff like that. And the way the direction that he's headed the country in, and also the fact that he hasn't really done good with this whole coronavirus, COVID-19 virus thing. He hasn't really done well. And now there are a lot of people who, are mad because, I think today he said to open up the churches and synagogues and all of that, that it's time to open everything back up. So a lot of people are not really happy with that decision. Me personally about that decision, I think we kind of got to open things back up and use common sense. Because the numbers, the statistics are really there that are saying that really the quarantine has not worked. I do believe, and I'll say this again, I do believe that it's the treatment protocol. I don't think that it has anything to do with the quarantine. I think basically, or whether or not you wear a mask or not, I think basically it has to do with how we're treating people who have the virus. When they come down with the virus, the way that we are treating them in the hospital is why they're dying. It has nothing to do with catching it. I think a lot of people are going to catch it, and I think a lot of people, if they don't use the right treatment protocol. The other thing is the whole Madagascar thing. I had one of my friends come on my page talking about, because there were reports out there. Russia bought some. There were reports that a lot of African countries have bought this stuff from Madagascar. So, and then I keep on thinking about my boy King Julian, the Madagascar movie. My kids watched that movie so many times, So I like to move it. I like to move it. And so now they're trying to move it, the elixir that comes from Madagascar. Now, so when my friend came on my page, I went and I looked stuff up, and there's a lot of people that are taking it, and they're saying that it's it's a preventative measure as well. And I know that there are other, I saw, like I was telling y'all, there are a lot of videos, especially from Africa and from the Caribbean and from the diaspora. Just look them up, go do your research. And there's a lot of people that are taking like non-traditional preventative stuff, like warm lemon water, warm key limes, garlic, stuff made with stuff like that, turmeric. There's a lot of stuff out there that people are taking as a preventative measure, and some of them are working. So we have to look at holistic cures and holistic preventative measures, and just warm fluids in general. Like I said, I think I said a while back, it's just like when your grandma used to get sick and your grandma gave you chicken soup. Well, a lot of viruses and a lot of stuff like that can't live through heat. And according to Dominicans and Cuban doctors, they're saying that it can't live. And then there was also a report where they were talking about how Cuba basically has no more new cases. All right, so something is working with their protocol and something is not working with ours. But anyway, so I got off track there. But anyway, so back to Joe Biden, back to Uncle Joe. Uncle Joe, we got to vote for Uncle Joe or else we got Trump again. That's the bottom line. Now, why? And then vote him in and then hold him accountable. That I can't get y'all to see that enough. Don't worry about who is in there, but hold whoever is in there accountable. And if the person doesn't want to be accountable, then you gotta do something. All right. And then the next time, because the one thing that you do know about Democrats, and the one thing that is proven, and you can go back and you can research it and research it out, the one thing that you know is that they're going to run a tight economy, and that people always prosper under their economies. All right. And even as far back as Clinton. All right. There's never been, in fact, the only presidents that have actually balanced the budget or left a surplus, and there's only one Republican that ever balanced the budget. That's Richard Nixon. The rest of them have always left us in debt. We've always been at a deficit. We've always had bad economies under Republicans. Under Democrats, however, if y'all remember when Clinton was president, there were jobs everywhere, and actually, as the economy was running under the Obama plan, after he recovered from Bush, if you notice, there was a surplus of jobs, there was a lot of extra money out there, and there was basically no deficit. And that's why when Baby Bush got in office, remember, that's what those stimulus checks came from. They were the surplus money. And so what their theory is that they could float all that money out there. But the only problem with them, when they floated the money out there, they had no way of measuring what people would do with it. And unfortunately, it never, their theory, once again, is always trickle down. give rich people all the money, and then the money will trickle down back to poor people, which has never worked. All right. And the Democrats have always been like, well, let's pay as we go along. So the one thing that I do trust and believe in is that Biden will run a tight economy. Right now, we're about $30 trillion in debt. The stock market has collapsed. All the gains that the stock market made through Obama and then through the first part of Trump, all of those gains are gone. People have divested themselves from the stock market, especially rich people, and rich people have gotten richer, and poor people are getting poorer, and they're getting poorer by the minute. Trust and believe that, because once all of this stuff is over, everybody's going to wake up and realize the whole time we were in quarantine and everything was slowed down or whatever, there's no money left. Basically, brick and mortar corporations are gone, or they're going to be gone. So everything is going to be virtual, or if it's not virtual, everything is about service. It's service industries, okay, deliveries, stuff like that. That's what it's going to be, or food service or stuff like that. But as far as brick and mortar companies, malls, big box, big brand stores and stuff like that, pretty much going to go by the wayside, because now, and even the post office. And here's that's the other thing. Here's my whole thing. The theory behind the whole thing with the post office is they want to drive the post office out because you have UPS, FedEx, and now Amazon. So you have basically 3 delivery services, and so what they're going to drive the post office out so that money doesn't have to be used on the postal service. Is that a good idea? Probably not. Okay, because what happens is in the future, what happens if those 3 services, if one of them goes belly up, then you have no way to deliver stuff. And the other thing is what happens, in the case of, of an emergency or something like that. You never know. So, and I'm sure, thinking about it, there's an argument for the other side. There's an argument for the other 3 companies because they're private. So, and we are a capitalistic society. So, you just have to figure out how you feel about it. But I guess what I'm concerned with is the postal workers. What are they going to do? How are they? Because some of those people have been working for the post office for years and years and years. So that's a concern. But as far as everything else is concerned, that's why I would vote Democratic and not Republican, because of the fact that, there's other things. And no matter what you feel about these men personally, or if they're racist or whatever, we're going to be subjected to one of them's leadership. And the way that Trump has handled the COVID-19 and everything else, and we know that he's a white nationalist. He is about rich white people. He ain't even about the poor white people. He's not even about his own constituency. He's about rich, wealthy white people and how they can keep control over all of the money. So that, and once again, I think that the whole coronavirus thing is just put there so that they can steal all the money out of the stock market, and that they can steal all the money out of the treasury through taxes. Because remember, they got a 30% tax cut. So they didn't pay any taxes. Most of these companies and corporations that are out there, they didn't pay any taxes. And the other thing is, they took all of their money out of the stock market. So there's no money. And they're actually, I guess they're, depending on who you talk to, they're actually putting $1 trillion, almost $1 trillion. Some people say a day, some people say a week, but that's still a lot of money. And then what's going to happen when those loans get called in by the Federal Reserve? Because these are loans. It's not free money. And the other thing is, other countries around the world realize that the dollar is not worth anything because they're just printing money. They're just printing money. You don't think that all the rest of the countries in the world know that, hey, all they're doing is pouring, money. So which in turn is devaluing the dollar. The other thing is, oil is at an all-time low, although it did rise a little bit. But oil ain't worth nothing. The dollar ain't worth nothing. I'm telling y'all, it's going to be a real tricky situation for this next whoever becomes president. Anyway, that's the fastest 15 minutes. Vote Joe. Uncle Joe moving kind of slow at the junction. Vote for Joe Biden 2020 election, or else you're going to be subjected to Trump again.